بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Before we begin with our lesson for today, there was something that I mentioned 2 or 3 weeks ago under the name of Allah, Al-Ghani, the self-sufficient, the rich. And we talked about the minimalist lifestyle and the benefits, and this is becoming a trend nowadays, right? But this has always been a trend in Islam. It has been a trend in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, but now you have these so-called developed people, these modern people, these people who everyone looks up to. Now they are the ones who are picking up on this minimalist lifestyle, this whole concept of living with little, and they have realized the benefits of it. And there's even scholarly research being done on this. There's psychologists coming on board and talking about what kind of an impact it can have on one's mental and psychological well-being, as well as economists coming on board and talking about its financial ramification on a person. Because this whole concept of trying to attain happiness by spending and overspending and lavishing oneself with extravagant spending, it seems like it's not working. You have people who are still committing suicide even though they are millionaires. You have people who are depressed and have anxiety problems, and they take sleeping pills just so they can go to sleep, yet they live in these multi-million-dollar mansions. So if you guys remember, I talked about this, but just in passing, I didn't even write about it. So after the class, I made a note to myself to just go ahead and do a little bit of research. I mean, for the purpose of this book, this is not its main focus. So what I found in multiple journals, in multiple articles, some of the benefits that a person can attain through living a minimalist lifestyle. What is a minimalist lifestyle? It's a low consumption lifestyle, right? It's a low consumption lifestyle. That's what it is. If we let me just, before I begin with some of the stuff, let me just give a couple of examples of the Prophet ﷺ's lifestyle. He never ate more than one time in a day. I mean, that's the maximum he ever ate. Once he saw Aisha radiallahu anha eating for the second time for that day, and he remarked, he said, "Are you going to be eating all day?" Meaning, is that what your life is all about? Just eating, right? We're all very careful about, this new trend, what you put in your body, and this new trend of what you put into the earth, and so on. So this is now just catching up. In any case, because that's not what brings the ultimate happiness, right? That's not what brings ultimate happiness. That's not what makes a person happy, to have these 70,000 ringgit purses, to have these 250,000, what's the brand? Hermes or something like that. Crocodile skin purses, right? I thought a 500 ringgit purse was expensive, but then when I found out that some people are actually carrying 70,000, 250,000 ringgit purses, alhamdulillah, my wallet is, I think it's $30, which is about 120 ringgits. Right? Alhamdulillah, I'm very happy. It keeps my money safe. It keeps everything intact. There's compartments for all the cars and whatnot. It does its function. I don't need to show it off to people. So what is this minimalist lifestyle, and how can it bring what kind of benefits can it bring to an individual? Well, first of all, it reduces the stress of financial security. What does that mean? It reduces stress of financial security. You don't need to worry about, okay, where else can you make an extra dollar, an extra ringgit, in order for you to buy a certain lifestyle, in order for you to go somewhere, in order for you to do certain things. So it brings that financial security. It reduces the stress. If a person is living a minimalist lifestyle, right, he has a more reduced level of stress when he loses a job compared to an individual who has a very extravagant, lavish lifestyle, and then he loses his job. You guys understand that? It increases happiness and a sense of purpose in life. You will start to realize that, you know what, your life is not in order for you to go ahead and hoard up all of these things. Is that what the purpose of life is? In order for you to see how many bags you can own, how many shoes. There was one lady, this was probably about 15 years ago, 20 years ago, in the Philippines. She was known as the shoe lady. She had the most amount of shoes. There was another lady, and probably you guys know her, the most amount of bags and purses. She doesn't own them anymore. It also gives you freedom from being tied down. It gives you that freedom from being tied down. Imagine if you want to move somewhere and you have your house all decorated with fancy everything and paint, right? And you want to move. You want to go ahead and move to a different part of town, a different country. You can just pack up your bag and leave. And sometimes life calls for that. You have these expensive cars. You bought it for, let's say, 100,000 ringgits. Now you can only sell it for 30,000. Okay. It will give you that freedom to travel, to see other parts of the world. It gives you an increased enjoyment and living a comfortable life. You'll be able to enjoy the little things. And that's why there was another article that I read, and they said, no matter what you give, no, there was an article that said why being a billionaire sucks. Why being a billionaire sucks. I mean, for a lot of us, will be like, what do you mean being a billionaire sucks? Everyone aspires to be millionaires, let alone being billionaires. And if you're a billionaire, you're already going to be daydreaming and having dreams about what you're going to do with that wealth. But they gave about 7 or 8 different reasons why it sucks to be a billionaire. One of them was, you won't have real friends. You won't. The only people that's going to be your friends is because somehow they're attached to your wealth. The other is, you don't really enjoy what you have. The other one is, no matter what you give as a gift to a billionaire, he will never be happy, or he will never really like it. Why? Because there's nothing you can give him that he already doesn't have it, or has something better than it. So if you give him a Ferrari, he already has something better, a Lamborghini, a Rolls Royce, whatever it is. So, but when you are, living that minimalist lifestyle, You have a 30 ringgit watch, you're going to enjoy that. Make sure that you're not going to do anything to ruin it. Keep it, take care of it, and cherish it. You're going to take that enjoyment until like it's dead. And you're not going to have the worry of anyone trying to steal your watch or your purse. I remember when the first car I had was when I was 16. I started driving when I was 16. That's when I got my conditional permit and license. So I started driving this old car that my dad had, 1989 Hyundai, not Honda, Hyundai or Hyundai, the way you guys say it, Hyundai Accent or Excel, Korean car. And transmission was messed up, but you could still drive it from point A to point B. And I was enjoying it. I didn't care like how I drove it. Then as I got older and I made some money, I bought a more expensive car, a $10,000 Honda Civic. And it was a sports car too. My insurance cost more than what I was making a month. So I didn't even have money for my fuel. I used to take money from my mom. And when I used to park in a way that would be far away from the other cars. Double park sometimes. Just so that way no one can scratch it. I remember there was some some sand that was coming on my windshield and my bumper, the hood, the front hood, and it scratched it. And I was so sad about it because it was a black car and you could see it right away. Do you think I enjoyed that? No, I didn't. I enjoyed that old beat up car more than I enjoyed. Actually, people who were watching me drive the car enjoyed it more than I did because I can't really see myself in the car. Only people from the outside can see the beautiful car that you're driving. It reduces the feeling of anxiety and guilt of overconsumption. When was the last time you went shopping and you bought something you never needed and then you came back home and you didn't feel guilty? So when you live that minimalist lifestyle, you will not feel that guilt. Hey, why did I buy this? Do I really need this? Freedom from feeling of jealousy and competition. Oh, you know what? That person has it. I also need to have that kind. I won't be accepted in certain circles if I don't live up to the trend. You know? You won't have that. There will be a reduced feeling of jealousy and competition. A reduced feeling of anxiety and guilt of overconsumption. And that's why do you think we have the Prophet ﷺ telling us, don't look at what is in the hands of the people and you'll be the happiest person. Once a person, he came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, Uridu an akuna aghna nas, right? Because this is all under the name of Allah, Al-Ghani, Al-Ghani, the rich, the self-sufficient. So he said, I want to be the most richest of person. And the Prophet ﷺ just said 2 words, and you can write books and articles about it. He said, Kun qani'an takun aghna nas. Be content, and you will be the richest person. He said, I want Allah to love me. He said, don't chase this world and you will have Allah love you. He said, I want the people to love me. He said, don't look at what is in the hands of the people and the people will love you. Don't look at what they have and aspire for what they have, because now you are going to be in competition with them. And you will have people love you. Don't aspire, don't chase the dunya, and you will have Allah love you. Be grateful for whatever you have. I remember another thing. I had another car, an old car. I bought it for $500. Cars in the US is very, very cheap. 500 US dollars. You can't even get a 500 ringgit motorcycle here. And someone hit me. I didn't even care. Like, you know, it's $500. But it was one of the best cars I had. It was one of the most powerful cars. It was a police car. All right, it was decommissioned, and so I bought it in the auction for $500. So someone hit me, and I didn't even lose sleep over it. The insurance was like $30 a month, or maybe even a bit less than that, or a little bit more. And when someone hit me twice, they hit me twice in two different occasions. I made more money from that, meaning the insurance ended up paying me, than what the car was worth. But imagine if you have that expensive $100,000 car or a ringgit car, $40,000 ringgit car. You're going to be chasing the insurance company to pay you. I could care less if the insurance paid me or not. There's one drunk person, he hit me. And there was another. So the point that I'm making, I didn't even have an alarm on the clock, an alarm on the car. There was no alarm. If someone stole it, I would probably be happy knowing that I have an excuse to go ahead and buy another car. So I didn't even have that. You have that reduced. I've lived both those lives. It's not like I'm talking from, I've lived, I was, I think, 18 or 19 years old when I bought my first $10,000 car. And back then in 2000, that was a lot of money. $10,000 cash. I saved up and I bought it. No one in my family or anyone else had that kind of, and I saw and I realized the anxiety that came with that. And then when I sold it, I started traveling the world. I started seeing different places that no one else, you know, could afford to do that, because they had these expensive purses, they had these expensive clothes. Their suit and their ties were $2,000 Armani suits, and like subhanallah, you could do away with most of these stuff. I know one person here in Malaysia, they told me that their lunch is about 3,000 ringgits. MashaAllah, 3,000 ringgits. Just for them to eat lunch. Okay, now there's another thing that I wanted to mention. So last week or the week before, the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the names of Allah that we covered, was An-Nur, the light. And I hope you guys took note of this particular dua that we can all benefit from. This is in Bukhari and Muslim, in which we are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide and to light, to enlighten, to illuminate our hearts, our hearing, our sight, and everything in our life. And one of the meaning of an-nur, right, was that he is the one who guides, because without light a person will be lost. And hence Al-Hadi and An-Nur, they complement one another. And a beautiful dua that we learned as a benefit was, I hope you guys took note of this. I think someone sent it in the WhatsApp group. Allahumma inni as'aluka al-huda wat-tuqa wal-afafa wal-ghina. Wal-afafa wal-ghina. So today's lesson, inshallah, is Al-Badee'. The name of Allah, Al-Badee', which means the unique originator. The unique originator. You can also translate it as the inventor. But since there's another name that translates as the inventor, so I thought of coming up with another translation that can be a bit distinguishable from the other name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like Al-Badee', right? The inventor. So we have Al-Badee', and this is where bid'ah comes from as well. Bid'ah, which means innovation, to invent something. So Al-Badee', Allah, He calls Himself Al-Badee' in several places, or in a couple of places in the Quran, and it means the unique originator whose powers and abilities are incomparable. There is nothing similar to Him in His essence, qualities, or whatever He does. In whatever He originates and invents, there is nothing similar to Him. You know, we always talk about this concept of there's nothing similar to Allah. Yeah, but sometimes we probably only refer to it in terms of His essence. Of course, there's nothing similar to Allah in terms of His essence or in terms of His qualities. But rarely does it come to our mind that He is unique in what He does, and invention and origination is one of them. Just like, for example, Allah, He is merciful, but He is unique in His mercy, meaning His mercy is not like the mercy of His slaves. So Allah, He is unique in every aspect, not only in terms of essence or His attributes, but also in what He does. So His invention, His origination of creation, Him bringing into existence anything and everything that we see and that we don't see, is unique to Allah. And how is it unique to Allah? Allah does it without a prior model, without imitating a design, without even inspiration. Like, for example, you look at some of the best inventors that there is in this world, right? They need to have a prior model, and then they go ahead and develop more on that. They will go and imitate something and just tweak a few things. Just look at the phones that are coming out. You think that's really an invention? Okay, all right. The first time it came, all right, I'll agree. Even with the iPhones and the Android, the first time it came out, you could say that it was truly an invention. But now the subsequent, the iPhone, what, 12 it is, or the Samsung 20 it is, or I think Apple iPhone 10. I think that's the latest one. But is that really an invention? How did they come? They imitated a previous design. You might be asking, okay, what about the first one that came out? Well, someone was inspired to come up with something because there is something at the end for him. whether it's a position, whether it's a name going down in history, or money, whatever it is. Whereas with Allah, His uniqueness in invention or in the origination of His creation, the existence of His creation, happens without a model, without imitating a design, without being inspired or anything. What could have inspired Allah to create the humans? Nothing. If someone says to worship Him, He doesn't need our worship. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in chapter 2, verse 117, He is the originator of the heavens and the earth. When He decides a matter, He simply says to it, be, and it comes to be. So that is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings the creation into existence. Anything that you see, it was by simply Allah saying be, and it is. And some scholars said He doesn't even have to say be. So Al-Badee is unique in His actions, since He invents in a manner no one can ever expect or predict or comprehend. So He manifests His wisdom through His unique creation. So you could see that why did Allah create the humans in the form that they are in? In it, we see that Allah manifests His wisdom in this unique creation, in this unique design of the humans. And then the jinns are completely different, and then the dogs are different, and then the animals, the different types of animals. Like for example, if you've ever seen or if you ever watch some of these animal channels, these documentaries about, like for example, the predators and the preys. So the predator, the lion, right? Why do they have their eyes like on top or in front, right? So that way when they are attacking or when they are hunting, they can go ahead and concentrate on what is in front of them and not be distracted by anything to their right or to their left. And so when they are preying on their target, when they are hunting, they can concentrate, and that helps them. Whereas the gazelle, the deer, where do they have their eyes? They have it on their side. Why do they have it on their side? It's so that way they can look forward, they can look to the side, they can look back. Why do they need to do that? In order for them to see all around, because they're always vulnerable to attacks and being hunted. So you see this unique creation even within the animal kingdom, how Allah manifests His beauty, His wisdom, that He gives these animals, though they have eyes, but they have different types of eyes. They have different places, in order for them to give them that edge, that advantage. Right? So what they lack in terms of, let's say, in terms of strength, they make up for it in terms of being on guard and aware, and so on. And we can talk about this, with so many other animals. So when Allah, He is unique in His origination, that manifests His wisdom. So now we have the hikmah of Allah, Al-Hakim, complementing Al-Badee, complementing this name. And we mentioned this before, and I'm going to keep on mentioning this, that all of the names of Allah, you cannot take it in seclusion. You would have to see it through the other lenses as well in order for you to get the full picture. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has created, for example, the solar system, the cosmic worlds, the planets and the stars and the suns, the humans, the animals, the trees, the birds, the tissues, viruses. He has created them all unique, and they are dissimilar in their properties, their design, their genetic makeup. If you look at the viruses, since we are going through a virus pandemic, you will see how one virus, COVID-19, is completely different than COVID-12, I think it is, or COVID-9, or some other SARS virus. Completely different. You cannot use the same vaccine that was around to cure or to fight off the virus or to develop an immune response to that particular strand of the virus compared to this one. You can't. They're completely different. Their genetic makeup. Even with COVID-19, they are mutating. And that is another challenge that these people these scientists are finding, that it is mutating. So by the time they come up with a vaccine, it may be obsolete. Even a human's tissue, one tissue is completely different from another tissue. Our irises, the human iris, is different. Our fingerprints are different. They're unique to us. To you, it is unique to each individual. That is the uniqueness of the origination of Allah's creation. Can you say that about any other design? Any other technological advancement? They're going to be very, very, very similar, if not completely. Whereas with every single creation, I'm not talking about like species, I'm talking about every individual, they're all different. Right? Even that's why you will find that a person who is of the, they said that even the blood plasma is different from one human to another. So the blood type may be the same, but the blood plasma is different. And that's why when a person has a kidney transplant, even from his own twin brother or sister, or from his own parents, or from their own child, the body will still try to reject it. And that's why you will take a cocktail of medicine in order to suppress your immune system from rejecting it. So these people who've had kidney transplants, right? You ask them and you look at them, they take a cocktail of medication. What is that cocktail of medication? Because their body is on a daily basis rejecting that foreign tissue, that foreign organ, even though it comes from their twin. But it's not unique to them. That is how Allah was so specific, meticulous in His creation. So not only are one species different from another species, but within the same species. within the same type. So Al-Badee, he continues to contrive new creation into existence without any similarity. Even if when you look at these triplets or twins, you will still, you know, at first glance, you cannot tell the difference, but of course, after a while, you can. And actually, it is a huge difference. Not completely different, like, you know, like others, but still you will say, no, that how could I have fallen? I remember two of my friends, they were twins. And in the beginning, I always used to fall for them. And then later on, I'm like, SubhanAllah, you guys look not like, to me, I got so used to them that I used to wonder, how could I mix the two up? Right? Because you actually see it, you just need to kind of train your eyes or have your eyes used to it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he continues to bring into existence new creation without any similarity to anything that is pre-existing. And the uniqueness of Allah is not limited to time or space. So it's not like, all right, you know what, let me go ahead and use the old designs of animals that I created and brought into existence 10,000 years ago. Let me bring that into a design this time. No one will know the difference. Oh, that's, Allah doesn't do it for us. That's His uniqueness. We pick up on it, we see it, and we praise and we recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through that. So Allah, He says in chapter 22, verse 73, they can never create as much as a fly, even if they gathered together for that purpose. So Allah is saying that these people will never be able to create even a fly, even if they gathered together for that purpose. And if the fly should steal away from them a tiny thing, meaning, let's say, a morsel of food, let's say a grain of your rice that fell from you, and the fly came and took it away, Allah, He's saying they could never recover it from Him. They could never recover it from Him. We are the pursuer and the pursued. What does that mean? And if the fly could steal away from, well, nowadays we can even dissect that fly, take out what's in his stomach, and even dissect him and find out its genome, look at the chromosome, look at its DNA, take out the RNA, protein, and basically say this is the code of a fly. And actually the fly was the first thing to be fully to have its genome fully published. The fly was the first species, the first animal, the first thing where its complete genome was discovered. And now Allah is saying that if a fly was to take something away from you, you can't even recover it. Well, I can do more than that. I can do better than that. Right? So how can we explain that apparent discrepancy? How can we? Well, look, what does a fly do when it snatches your food away? A crumb, a bread crumb, a cracker, whatever it is that falls from you, and the fly comes and takes it away. What does it do? Well, before it takes it away, what does it do? It throws up its digestive enzyme on it and then takes it away from you. And then eats it, basically. Unlike us, we eat it, and then once it goes into our stomach, then our digestive enzymes does its work. Whereas the fly, it throws up on it and then takes it away and then eats it later on. And now, so when Allah is saying that if they should steal something away from you, a tiny thing, you could never recover. Yeah, because it's already been digested. You guys understand? So the Quran is very specific in these miracles. In these miracles. So what are some of the benefits that we can derive from the name of Allah, Al-Badee? Now we know there are 7 billion humans on earth, and there is an even more, an exponential amount of animals on earth. Right? So there's far hundreds of billions of animals, trillions on earth, but there are about approximately 7 billion humans on earth, and every one of them Allah has created unique. So there's no two faces that are similar, there's no two irises that are similar, fingerprints, tissues, organs, or even smell. No two human beings smell the same. And that's why you have these sniffing dogs, right? So they will give that dog, for example, a shirt that you've worn, or a jacket, or whatever it is. And that dog will not chase anyone else except for you, or try to find only you. So even our smells are different. They're not alike. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is how unique he is. That even down to the odor that we give out, the pheromones that we give out, they're not similar. Okay? They're not similar. So Al-Badee's divine creativity and innovation are unlimited and infinite, whereas our creativity and innovation, it is limited and it is finite. So what should this make us do? This should make us reflect over our lives. It should make us thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for our uniqueness. It should make us realize, you know what, today did I thank Allah for the uniqueness in certain aspects that I have? Have I thanked Allah for that? Maybe you're not good in math, but you're great in art. So the uniqueness of your abilities, your physique, your character and potential, these are all things that are unique to you. If you wanted to look like someone else, well, you are not going to have that name, or people will not. Like, for example, if your name is, well, my name is Ali. So if I try to aspire to look like someone else, you know, with 6 packs, or alhamdulillah, who says I don't have 6 packs? I have 1 big pack. So, like, you know, if I try to aspire to look like someone, that's not me. That's, you know, and neither should anyone. I hope my wife is listening. Neither should anyone criticize me to look like someone else. You guys understand? So our physique, our character, our potentials, they're all unique to us. So rather than being fake, because we do live in a fake world, right? Just look at Instagram. How many filters they have. Just look at, what's this other thing called? Snapshot or Snapchat, right? They have more filters than people can use, and it completely changes you and the way you look. So instead of delving into these things and trying to look like something or being like someone, you are unique. That's it. What Allah has not given you, He has given someone else. What Allah has not given someone else, He has given you. because that is what defines you. That's why your name and your character matches this, whatever your name is. So do not waste these unique abilities and potential that Allah has given specifically to you in pleasing the creation and trying to be someone or something that you are not. You know why? Because that's going to cause you to be disappointed and miserable. How? Because you may want to look, or you may want to be like someone or something, and you may want to have a certain type of characteristic. So you're going to try to please a segment of society, but then another segment of society have a different expectation from you, and they're not going to be pleased with it, and they're going to start to criticize you, and which leaves you utterly miserable and disappointed because you're trying to gain a following and the pleasure of people. So you're always going to have certain people always unhappy with you, no matter what you do. So if you talk, let's say, let's give another example. So if you, let's say, if you know, you pray your salah, let's say, for example, you're gonna have people who are like, mashallah, making dua for you, and then you're gonna have other people saying, you know, who do you think you are? You're praying in a wedding. You think you're the only religious person. You're trying to show off. Whatever it is, or you're trying to live a more religious life. Let's say you're trying to live a minimalist lifestyle. You're going to have people like praising you and saying, that's a brave thing you're doing. Wow, I wish I can be like you. I wish, I hope to be like you one day and have that courage to live that minimalist lifestyle. And then you're going to have, and some of these people are going to be your close relatives, probably even your parents, your siblings, criticizing you. What happened? You can't afford to live, a comfortable life, but you're like, I am comfortable. Well, what's happening? Your husband is not spending on you. So you're always going to have that other segment of society criticizing. And if you live that luxurious lifestyle in order to please that segment that was upset with you, then you're going to have the other. Look, there's poor people starving and you're buying 3,000 ringgit worth of meal, your lunch, and it's like, what happens? So that is where these celebrities or these social media influencers, when they see that, right, and they get bullied and they get these comments, what happens to that? They go in a state of depression and they either commit suicide, either cancel their social media, take a break from it, because that's how it is. Whereas if you were to live pleasing Allah, using your unique creation that Allah has made you to be, in pleasing Allah, you could care less if what people think. Do you guys understand the long connection I was making? So we should recognize Him and we should use it in pleasing Him. Then who cares if people are upset? Because they don't really matter. They're not significant in your life. They're not the ones that created you. So what does Allah say? In chapter 41, verse 53, we will show them, sanurihim, we will show them our signs in the universe. سنريهم آياتنا في الآفاق وفي أنفسهم حتى يتبين لهم, until it becomes manifest to them that this أنه الحق, that this Quran is the truth. Is it not sufficient in regards to your Lord that He is a witness over all things? So Allah is saying that He will manifest his signs, his verses in the universe. And how does he do that? Through his unique invention and origination of everything that's contained within the universe. Why does he do that? In order to show us that this Quran is the truth, because this Quran talks about it. All right? So we should always remember that there is no problem, there is no situation that is too big, that is too challenging. There's no difficulty that is too hard or complicated for Al-Badee to solve. So what do we have to do? We have to call upon him, turn to him, ask him for his support, and ask him for our needs. So instead of living your life for others, live your life for Al-Badee. Disassociate yourself from those individuals who are taking you away from Al-Badee, from his remembrance, from his obedience, who are a cause of your unhappiness. Nothing good comes from those people. Nothing good comes from the disobedience towards Al-Badee. Even though for that time being, it may be saying, look, I'm enjoying life. Look, I bought my house from the bank and I'm living the life, but are you really happy in that? Are you really going to have that tranquility and that peace, that comfort? That you may have a house, but do you have a home? Is it homey? So nothing good ever comes from disobedience towards him. So if we desire peace, if we desire that comfort, if we desire tranquility in our life, you can find it in his remembrance. And Allah, he says in chapter 13, verse 28, those who have believed and whose hearts are assured by the remembrance of Allah, and no doubt by the remembrance of Allah, hearts are assured. So there's another way for us to have that tranquility, that peace, that love of Allah. And this is one of the best ways that we can get happiness in our life and the love of Allah. And that is to abstain from bid'ah. And bid'ah has the same root letters as Badee', Ba, Da, and Ain. What is bid'ah? It is innovation in matters of the religion. So when we abstain from that, when we follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, that is happiness and that is success. That is where the love of Allah is. It will guide us in all matters of our life and faith. Not just our faith. Allah will guide you. How? I don't know. I know I have been guided. In matters of life, when I stuck to the sunnah, has the sunnah ever let me down? So Allah uses unique ways of guiding people in life with every individual. And that's why you will see how, people will say, look, I wasn't like this, but now I came back on to the sunnah and I made hijrah back to the sunnah, and Allah has guided me to 1, 2, 3. Maybe it's Allah guiding you away from something that is harmful, not necessarily guiding you towards something that is beneficial, but guiding you away from misguidance, guiding you away from something that is harmful, that is also beneficial. So what happens when you follow the sunnah? You'll get the love of Allah. You will get that guidance in matters of life and faith, and your distress will be removed, and it brings the forgiveness of Allah. Now, what is the proof for all of this? Allah, He says in chapter 20, verse 123, then if there comes to you guidance from me, then whoever follows my guidance shall neither go astray nor fall into distress and misery. Okay, so Allah, He says, then if there comes to you guidance from me, then whoever follows my guidance shall neither go astray nor fall into distress or misery. So whoever follows the guidance of Allah will never go astray. Now Allah, He didn't say will never go astray in terms of only the religion. Of course, that's a given. So He made it general. He will never go astray. That means what? Everything, life, dunya, deen, He won't go astray. Nor will you fall into distress and misery. And then how do you get the love of Allah? Allah, He says in chapter 3, verse 31, say, O Muhammad, so this is a command to the Prophet ﷺ to tell mankind, say, meaning, O Muhammad, say to mankind, if you love Allah, then follow me. So the Prophet ﷺ is telling mankind, if you love Allah, so we all claim that we love Allah, then follow me, meaning Muhammad, follow my sunnah, and Allah will love you and forgive you of your sins. And Allah is most forgiving and most merciful. Most forgiving and most merciful. Okay, so are there any questions? So we're done with Al-Badee. Any questions? Any questions? I don't think I can start with Al-Warith, even though I have it done, because it's going to be, I don't want to start on it and then finish halfway. So I'll go ahead and start on this next week, inshallah. Next week, Al-Warith. This is a very unique, you could say, one of those beautiful names that I think we can all really connect to. It's a beautiful name, Al-Warith. Very unique. You don't really have too many people talking or having that name, Al-Warith. In fact, you don't really have it being mentioned in a lot of lectures or speeches. You'll have all the other, or most of the other names like Hikmah, Al-Hakim, the subduer, the prevailer, the one and only, Allah, He originated the heavens and the earth. Al-Warith is subhanAllah, is very, very beautiful, and how we can connect with this name. In fact, I came up with this very beautiful way of describing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because I found that it was complemented by many of His other names. So are there any questions before we call it a night? And then next week, inshallah, we'll go ahead and start from Al-Warith. So today I'll let you guys go early, just a bit. Any questions? Not, then we'll go ahead and end it. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Rabbi ighfir warham wa anta khayrur rahimin.